Ayala.
Alexis Ayala, and
Yeah.
I'm here. I'm John Arwood here reporting with She Got Game, man. How's everything going with you?
I am doing wonderful. How are you doing?
Good, man. I can't complain. Can't complain. A lot of blessings and stuff. I can't complain. But
That's right.
yeah, no, man. Before we do a deep dive into your story and what you've been through, just for the viewers at home, we're gonna jump into a little bit of background stuff, right? So I know you're from Michigan. Where are you from specifically? Like, what part of Michigan and stuff are you from?
Swartz Creek Dragon. So not many people know where that is. So I just go ahead and rep Flint Town.
Gotta respect it. Gotta respect it.
Yeah.
For sure. At what age did you begin getting involved in sports? Like just playing, whatever, even having an interest. What age and stuff did you start getting involved?
Ever since I can remember, my dad's like my hero, 100%, my best friend, my everything. And he is the best basketball player I've ever seen with my own two eyes, like played with in person. So I learned everything from him. He had a ball in my hands before I could even walk. So
I was about to say, it sounds like he's a huge inspiration. It's safe to say he inspired you to pick up a basketball and stuff like that, correct?
yeah, 100%. He loves basketball. He's always preached how much he loves basketball and how it's more than a game, how it teaches you so many life lessons. Just his passion radiates and everyone can feel it. And I've always been drawn to that, and I kind of just tried to emulate it because I am so drawn to it.
Fire, fire. I love it. I love it. That's where your passion and energy stems from. I love it. I love
Yep. Daddy's girl over here.
it. Hey, look, respect. So just to take a quick little fast forward, you did play in high school, you had college success, you played in college, but you began prioritizing basketball, right? At what point did the shift begin between, your playing days in basketball and then shifting into sports media? Around what time did that um happen for you?
Yeah, so it's a weird question because like I still want to play basketball, even though like my priority is broadcasting basketball, and I love that, and that has become my passion, sharing other people's voice and their game and giving them that spotlight. But I will never stop thinking about like, dang, I wonder if there's some way I can finesse my eligibility, see if I still got a couple years left and go try to walk on somewhere. So like I'm always like wanting to play. I still play in the summertime with my brother and like 3-on-3 tournaments and Gus Mackers and stuff. But I would say the main shift was I played 2 years at Lawrence Tech in Southfield over in Metro Detroit area. So after those 2 years, I my dream was to always play college basketball and be a Spartan. Go green, go white. I love Michigan State. My dad always loved Michigan State, so I loved Michigan State. I I didn't get the scholarship to Michigan State, but I got my dream of playing, so I played those 2 years and then I decided that let's be realistic with myself. I don't know if I'll go to the WNBA from here. So my major is broadcast journalism. I think the smartest thing to do would be to get a jump on it. So at Michigan State, that's where I'd be able to talk about the best basketball players in the state at my favorite school. So that's when I made that switch and ended up graduating from MSU.
By the way, as a Big Ten grad, I want to say shout out to Detroit, shout out to all that, but it's Rutgers, it's Chop Nation all day. It's Chop.
Oh,
Yeah,
come
yeah,
on.
yeah. It's Chop Nation.
No.
Listen. We don't really rock with the Big House. We don't rock with the Spartans too much, but
I
we.
always root for the Big Ten though. Like if Michigan State's not playing them, whoever a Big Ten school is playing, as long as it's not Michigan State, I'll root for them. 100%.
Gotta respect. Even Ohio from Michigan, even Ohio.
Yep. 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 If they're not playing Michigan State, yeah, if they're yeah, Big
Gotta
Ten versus a non-Big Ten, I'm rooting for the Big Ten.
I gotta respect Big Ten all day.
Yep.
Bump the
That's
SEC,
right.
all those guys. Big Ten all
Yeah. They get too much hype.
day.
Overrated. Overrated.
Oh man. I mean, look. Even through this, even so far through the interview, people can tell, man, the energy is radiating off you. So over the years, it's clear. you've developed. It seems like you've developed a persona, at least that you address to yourself, that, that you say is Big Lexi. Am I right?
Yeah. Yes.
If you can discuss how that was inspired and even just created and stuff like that, how did Big Lexi come apart?
Well, it's funny you found me on TikTok, but you gotta know. I'm praying that you know. It's back from the Vine days. Go Big Lexi. You know it, right?
yeah,
Oh, I love that video
yeah,
so bad.
yeah,
He's going
yeah.
so hard in the middle of everyone. Go Big Lexi.
Mhm.
Go Big Lexi. And like ever since that video came out, my whole AAU basketball team started like doing that for me in our warm-ups and happy dancing. And like from then on, it's Big Lexi and it stuck. And that's I'd meet new people. It didn't matter if it was, a cute boy, interview, wherever, and I would introduce myself as Big Lexi. So it's hard now that I'm more in a professional world on TV. I have to be Lexi Ayala, but I've been trying to get the petition for Big Lexi, so we'll see if I can get the crew on board or not. But I'm trying.
Listen, I respect it, man. I love it. I love it. I love it, man. People forget about the Vine days and stuff. That's great. That's great. I didn't even realize. I thought, I'm gonna be honest with you. I thought I was thinking like a basketball cool story. I love it.
Fine,
I love it. That's the origin
fine.
story. I love
Yeah.
it. I love it. At what point? So here's the thing, man. So you transition into sports media, right? You transition to sports media. You started getting, you started taking steps towards that and making strides. Here at She Got Game, we like to address it as like you have a She Got Game moment, right? Meaning, like, at what point throughout your broadcasting experience did you realize, oh, I could do this? Like, oh, I'm actually good at this. I could do this. Your She Got
I would say I've always felt that with everything I do. So my whole life is a She Got Game moment. I'm confident in everything I do. I want to win at everything and I want to be the best at everything I do. And it doesn't come from, just grabbing it out of thin air. I work hard at everything I do. So I actually believe I can be the best. But like it was a certain moment for sure with Michigan State. It was first year of COVID season, no fans, no anybody. It was so weird, but my boss for the Big Ten Network Student U program at Michigan State said that he got approved to have one broadcaster call the game. So I would have to do play by play and color, and it would be really weird because I'd be in this room all by myself. Like I didn't get to be on the court like normal. There's no one around me. It's just me by myself watching the game on TV in a silent room and like bringing that excitement out. And I was the person who called every home game for Michigan State that first COVID season. And that's just when I started like just
Yeah,
floating. Like it just started feeling good. I mean, and that was even before I invested in myself, like with coaches and
yeah,
started learning the things that I know now. But that was just getting so many games under my belt and doing it by myself in such a foreign environment that nobody's used to. And just that's when I totally let myself be myself. So if you go back and listen to those broadcasts, it probably sounds unprofessional to my standard now, but that's where I just
yeah.
got to have so much fun with the game and get so many reps in that I found my groove then.
That's amazing, man. That's amazing. And a lot of people don't get the opportunity to actually build their confidence and really make a step into what they're doing. So that's super
Right.
dope. That's super.
Yeah, and they didn't have any budget to pay that year, like for the BTN Student U program. They're awesome. Like students get paid to work these games because I mean all the work that we put in there's prep just like any other broadcaster would do. But during COVID year, there was no budget for us. But I'm like, I don't care. I get every single home game. Like
Yeah, yeah,
you're
yeah.
not supposed to tell anybody but I would dang near pay to get every single home game. So I absolutely took that.
Hell yeah, man. Hell yeah. That's great. Look, world made lemon. It was lemons. You made lemonade out of it, right?
Yep.
That's all.
Yep. And added a lot of sugar. I found my sugar and I threw it in.
Hell
Yeah.
yeah. Hell yeah. So just all right. So you spoke about right there. You were calling a lot of games at home for just Detroit, for Western Michigan, Eastern Michigan, and several other colleges, right? My
Mhm.
question to you is, because you do bring a unique perspective. A lot of color analysts and broadcasters react like they're just students. They've been students their whole life. While they know the game and have followed the game, no matter what anyone says, it's very different when you've played it and you know the IQ of it. You know the ins and outs. When they double here, someone's cutting here. Like the broadcaster may not know that or may not personally feel that, right? My
Mhm.
question to you: how has your experience on the court helped with your color casting and broadcasting off the court?
I just think my authenticity and my emotion the most. I think that I get what you're saying, that I mean, it's different for someone who just studies the game and hasn't played it versus someone who has. But I think the difference isn't even in the knowledge necessarily. I think you can, really get your studying in and really understand the X's and O's, the ebbs and flows, the runs of the game and get that. But I just like feel like that passion, like knowing what that moment feels like though, and expressing that on a broadcast, I think is cool. I think that that's what brings people really there into the game with you.
Capturing that moment, that key moment.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, I get emotional during games. I mean, I'm flying out of my chair. I'm like standing up, like I get going. Like I'm really feeling like I'm in that game playing, or I'm the coach or something. And it gets your adrenaline going. I'm
yeah.
like feeling on a high for a good hour after a game.
Look, listen. I like to say there's nothing better than my boy who says "bang" after every big three. It's not. It's so simple. That one sound when you hear it, it's
Yeah.
legendary. It's a and it captures that moment. So I know
Yeah.
it's great. It's great. That's amazing, man. That's
Yeah.
amazing. So check this out. Is there like, there are tons. Look, I know for me, like getting in the sportscasting journalism world, a lot of it is repetition, right? A
Mhm.
lot of it is also, like you just said, studying the game and knowing who came before you and knowing, okay, what works, what doesn't, whatever the case is, right? Is there anyone you've studied, specifically sports broadcasters, no matter what sport? Is there anyone you studied to help implement your casting and stuff like that going forward?
Well, growing up, I always loved Michelle Beadle and Jamel Hill. I thought those two were always themselves, no
Yep.
matter what. If people, if it drew in controversy, if people didn't like it, if they literally lost their job over a show, it didn't matter. They were going to be themselves, and that was that. And they were going to be authentic about it. They weren't going to apologize for who they were and what they thought.
Yep.
So those were people who inspired me in my personality. Um, and then when it came down to like the meat of like really how to broadcast a game, because that's where my passion is in the most, is live games, calling live games.
Yeah.
So I love Megan McEwen. She's in the Big Ten network and she's the analyst for the Chicago Sky. So we actually got a chance to sit down and have a coffee, and she's awesome and she's kind of like a mentor to me. So I make sure I'm watching all her games, and just like with that technical stuff that like maybe not an average fan watching is going to catch all these little things, but like a producer will.
Gotcha.
So
Gotcha.
she's great for that.
Look, she's amazing. She's great for the BTN, and I'm be honest, Michelle Beadle makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense why you like
She
her.
is. She's
No,
cool.
yeah,
She's
no,
cool.
it makes sense, man. And Jamel Hill, one of the goats too. You gotta
Don't even have to say anything. Just Jamel Hill. That's all you need.
easily one of the
Yeah.
goats. So that's a great. It makes sense. I really like that list. It's cool hearing from other journalists and other broadcasters' point of view, because like each people like their own different type of broadcast, and it makes sense. I love it. I love it because it helps
Yeah.
mold whoever they are at the moment. It's amazing. It's
You
amazing.
know what, too? I feel like the worst person in the world because I'm forgetting his name right now, but Miles Bridges. Oh my
The
those
dude from the
like
Charlotte Hornets. He's
yes,
amazing.
I could
He's
listen
amazing.
to them like on repeat all day. Like when I'm driving in the car instead of listening to music, I could listen to them call
Nah,
call
they're amazing.
games.
They are amazing out there. I know
They
exactly what
are. Then they're a controversial one because a lot of like I feel like you either love them or you hate
you
them.
hate 'em,
I
yeah.
love them. Love them.
Oh no, the energy they bring because it's so extra. It's so over the top. It's like you gotta love it. He's in
You
the game. He's involved. You gotta love it. You gotta love
I mean, because that is what also players feel like. If you see a dunk, come on, you're not just like, I need to dunk it. No, if you're on the bench, like you're on that team, you're getting up, like
it.
everyone's cheering, everyone's going crazy. Like, why not put that on a broadcast? I love it. Love it.
True. That look, a lot of the broadcasting art is hard to bring your passion out to the fans and
Yeah.
to have everyone else feel what you're feeling. So that's super dope, man. That's super dope. Speaking of games and stuff that you like, because you've called however many games and you know your experience. What was your favorite game you've called? Most exciting game you've got to call to this day?
Definitely when I was in the Big Ten Student U program, I did Michigan State, Iowa with Caitlin Clark. That was her freshman year.
Crazy, crazy,
Oh
crazy,
my gosh. I
crazy.
mean, she she got so much more hype after that season that I called her. So, I mean, it kind of felt like I got a piece of her before the rest of the world really got a piece of her.
Mhm.
But it was just awesome. That game, I think she dropped 26, like
She's gonna
8
change the game.
boards, 6 assists. I mean, and just freshman phenom. I remember like prepping and telling my dad, like, because I knew some of the girls on that Iowa team, and I won't drop names, but
Okay.
one of the girls that I knew gets her spot taken by this freshman phenom, Caitlin Clark.
Mhm.
And the girl that gets her spot taken is a senior, she's a veteran. So I'm like, oh my God, so it's like me and my dad are getting into the basketball drama. Ooh, like the freshman took the senior spot. Like we're about to see how this shakes out, like what's gonna happen. And what happened was she's like a household
Yeah,
name
yeah,
now.
yeah,
It's amazing. It's so cool.
yeah. It's not getting your spot taken by Caitlin Clark isn't a bad yeah.
So it's like it's really like the LeBron right now of some college hoops. Like
She'll
LeBron,
change the game.
come ahead. I would love you on my team. I'll come in when you need a break. Let me know.
You know,
Got your back, bub. Yeah.
listen, she'll change the game. She's gonna change the game for a very long time, especially
Oh
when
yeah.
she touches the WNBA. She's amazing, man. She's
I
amazing.
can't wait. She's exciting.
Yeah.
And
No.
she got a mouth. She got a mouth
Oh, she
too.
chirps. She chirps. I seen her in the
Yeah,
Rutgers game. She was look. She chirps. She chirps, man. She chirps.
she does.
Um, but so a quick transition here. Sports broadcasting, right, and journalism are a slight bit within the two. It's a slight difference, right?
Yeah, yeah.
They're
They intertwine, but they're different.
they're very, it's intertwined, like you said, but very different, right? Which of the two do you personally enjoy more? I know you have experience between both. Which do you find yourself having fun more, or at least being the most creative and stuff in?
For sure now, I would say broadcasting. Like I said, I love bringing the emotion out in a live game right when you feel it in that moment, wear it on your sleeve type energy. But it's crazy because when I got into it, writing was definitely my thing. I mean, I always felt like a writer growing up, whether it was like me writing make up stories about me making it to the WNBA or being the first girl in the NBA, like writing these fake news stories about myself or poetry, fun short stories. Like I loved writing. And then when I got to Lawrence Tech, that's when I met and an advisor who really introduced me even to the whole idea of sports broadcasting. I don't know why it never crossed my mind growing up, but it really didn't. It was just playing basketball, and that's really all I thought of until I got to college and she opened me up to that whole different world, really.
That's tough. That's tough. You so I want to know because as an established writer myself, right? I want to know would you recommend, right, for young writers out there, because there are young writers who's trying to get to where you're at right now, or at least inspired to at some point, right? As a young writer out there, would you recommend, right? because going to college plays a huge factor in whatever your future may potentially look like. Not in many fields, but particular in this field. Would you
Mhm.
recommend them being a big fish in a smaller pond, or being, a smaller fish in a relatively bigger pond? And
Yeah.
when I say that, I mean the Alabamas, the Big Tens, anywhere in the Big Ten, huge pond, versus covering, you know, a small Pac-12 or a small the Sun Belt. You know what I mean? It's a different ball game. So, what would you recommend to like young writers and stuff out there?
I think everyone says it, and I know it gets annoying because I get annoyed hearing it because like I said, I think before you started recording that, I see myself in my head further along than where I am physically, like in reality. But I mean, I do think it is important to start off in a smaller market so that because no matter how good you think you are, how confident you are, how prepared you think you are, and it really is a think you are thing, there's just so many mistakes to be made your first year, maybe your first few years out of school that everyone says you need to make those mistakes in a smaller market where, let's face it, no one's really paying much attention to you.
Mhm.
Get it out of your system, learn from it so that when you do get an opportunity in a bigger place, one of those mistakes doesn't make it to where you're never allowed back on that network again.
Yeah, yeah. No, listen, that's great advice. I think. Listen, if you're gonna mess up small, mess up
Yep.
small instead of messing up like you just said on the biggest network, because then on the big networks you get what you pay for. You know what I mean? You mess up one time, it might be your last time there.
Oh, for sure, for sure. I mean, yeah, like you'll see a lot of people getting an opportunity and getting these awesome gigs that you're like, oh my gosh, how the heck did they get that? But just see how long do they have it for? How long do they hang on to that? That's like what makes you great versus, just getting lucky and stumbling upon this opportunity through networking or whatever.
Yeah. Listen. Absolutely right. Absolutely right. Um, Speaking of writing, right? I just so it's hard. It's hard because it's such a talented field, right? There's writers is tough because now you're battling both sexes. You're battling people younger than you. There's no age limit on writing. Like writing is a tremendous skill. And while you're in a pool pretty much with talented writers on the journalism aspect, how does one establish himself or them, whatever, whoever they are, how do they establish themselves to essentially differentiate from the pack? Because there are people who don't want to get in the broadcasting side of things, you know what I mean? They
Right.
just want to stay in a journal. How would you recommend to try to differentiate yourself from that pack?
To forget that there even is a pack, that there is no pack that exists. And I mean, this might get too deep into it, but that even like time isn't real. I mean, that's like a whole thing, like some deep concept that people talk about, but really that helps because people put so much pressure also on like a certain time that they think that they should have already had this accomplished or gotten to this goal, but like forgetting that like days are even real or time's even real, and just forgetting that that there is a pack, that there's other people out there like fighting for food and fighting for their spot too. Just like I really think staying in your own lane and putting your head down, it's hard, especially in a world where social media is so big, but I mean, you can make sure that you're just separating yourself from when you see something and doing the comparison game. Oh, how am I going to separate myself from the pack? How am I going to like,
Mhm.
emulate what this person's doing? Instead of thinking that way, I mean, just use that as inspiration. Oh, that's so cool that, they're in that place that they are. I can't wait till I'm there. Like that's inspiring. And instead of like the comparison game. And obviously everyone's going to have to check themselves. We're human. Like you're not going to be perfect at it, but just anytime that you feel those, just be quick. Like you can't control that first thought that comes in, that first thought of whether it's jealousy or resentment, anger, whatever, but you can always control the second thought that like floods that first one out.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. Kind of just become so focused within yourself, you can't worry about the other things.
Right. Right.
I love that. I love that being locked in like that. So you've also dabbled, well, not dabbled. You had a little, you had some experience with journalism, and now you're full time broadcaster. You're killing it on the broadcasting aspect. What would you say the two biggest difference between the both are?
Huge difference between writing and TV writing, like print writing versus TV writing. It's so different. And especially if you're trying to do them both at the same time, it is really hard because I know in school I would have like my capstone classes where like we're writing articles like 2 a week, I think is what you had to go get a story and write, 2 articles a week. But then I also had my focal point news class where you're going out and you're shooting, editing, writing, and stand-ups, like doing the whole like video news side, TV side of it too. And it would like, I know our TV, like the news professor would get upset at us because he's like, oh my gosh, like you need to write for TV how you talk to your friend in real life.
Hmm.
But in writing for print, you don't do that. You can really, I know people say like run-on sentences are bad, but they're really not in print. I don't think. Throw in the proper like punctuation as long as you got some commas and whatnot going on, you can let that sucker go forever. Where in
Yeah.
TV, you want to make sure your sentences are only like 5 to 7 word sentences. You can't just be
Yep.
gasping for air on TV and like running on and droning. So
Yep.
there's such different cadences to the two, for sure.
Yeah. No, look, you're giving a lot of game there. It's very different.
Yeah.
I'm just you didn't even throw in like the radio writing and stuff because that's part of it. Radio is its own different
Yeah.
world versus TV. Then you got the
Oh,
it's
yeah,
night and
absolutely.
day. Night and day. It's a whole different, like you said, the different flow, the creativity.
Yep.
Everything's very different. So I like that.
Yeah. I never even have done radio my whole college career.
Really?
And no, not at all the way out of college, except I just did it for the first time for the MHSAA high school girls basketball state finals. I called all those on the radio side
Nice. Okay.
as an analyst. So it was a way different world. I'm used to getting on TV and getting to talk my little booty off, however much I gosh they want to talk pretty much,
Yep.
on radio. It was such an awesome learning experience because I can get going too much. Like, oh my goodness, shut up already. And in radio, you have to get in and out so fast because you really have to think. No one can see what's happening. You have to let your play by play take the reins and really break everything down. And you come in quick, give the why, get out.
Yep.
Give the why, get out. Like, so I learned a lot with radio for sure.
I was gonna So what? How was the transition between the both? So how did so you? I know you had the journalism background as we stated prior, and then obviously you're in broad. But where did your transition come from doing articles and stuff to finally getting your shot on air and stuff like that? How did that come about?
Well, at Michigan State, it was new to me because you really had to narrow down your major. So at Lawrence Tech, where I played basketball for 2 years, it was just called media communications. Media communications was what the major was called. And that entailed everything like video editing, Photoshop, marketing, broadcasting, like, I mean, just social media, anything that you can think of that goes into media communications world. You learned, that's what you did. And then you were supposed to, after 2 years, kind of after you felt out everything, choose which way you wanted to go in a more narrow sense. At Michigan State, it was, that's why I'm glad I had that experience with LTU because I got to taste a little bit of everything. At
Nice.
Michigan State, it's already all narrowed down into like 4 different sections of journalism that you can go into and then either add the minor of broadcasting, like it, which is what I did. So right away it was narrowed down with my major, but that's when I got into the BTN Student U program. That's what changed everything for me, even from post grad. I really feel like that has gotten me every job that I've gotten, even if it's a job, whether it's on camera or I also do a lot of work as just a utility where literally my job is like unloading the truck of all its equipment, setting up the
Mhm.
day for whatever sporting event, running all the cables, dressing them, wrapping them all up, packing it back up for the day. I do all that stuff too behind the scenes. Even the Student U program has gotten me those jobs because Big Ten Network hires out student assists to go on. I guess if they like you, they'll hire you on as an actual utility once you graduate. So everything came from that, it feels like. And Matt McCullough was the the boss guy. He ran everything and he is amazing. I mean, he loves everyone in there. Like he can tell if you're taking it seriously or not. And if you are, I mean, he hooks you up. Like he wants to see you do well and he'll give you the contacts and he'll put your name out there and help you out. So that's where all my credit comes from.
Crazy. I was gonna dive into, because you do have a bunch of BTN experience as well as ESPN that's led to the ESPN and stuff.
Hmm.
And you've been on, like you, as you just stated, several other networks. I was gonna ask you slightly, how has it helped shape your career? But you kind of just dove right into. I mean, BTN has opened tons of doors and stuff for you. It seems like.
Yeah, everything. I mean, even just like thinking of, Matt got me on because he's also a crewer for Rush Media, I think it is, a network. So he crewed all of Bally's high school Friday football game of the weeks. So
Mhm.
I was on that every Friday with whatever crew that he had together. And then even him putting me on that, I started talking to Bally's play by play, color, sideline reporters, started networking with them, even though I was just someone behind the scenes there. I'm not an on camera talent like they are, but I want to be. So, I'm going and talking with them. And then one of them gave me the contact for Western Michigan. And that's how I got in as
Nice.
an analyst for Western Michigan. It's like really just making sure that you are becoming friends with pretty much everyone that comes across your path. And I know some people are shy, but you just really have to buckle up, dig your heels down and just act like these people are already your best friend. I mean, I'm walking up to these people like I already know them even if I've never met them and just chopping it up with them, just hopping in the conversation. And I mean, I think I even get anxiety about it sometimes
Hmm.
beforehand, but just once you're there, everything's fine. It's like going to the gym. You never want to do it before you go, but once you're there, you're good.
Listen, I'm with you. I'm with you. I, it's crazy. It's crazy you saying this because a lot of it, because a lot of people in the world we're in, they try to make these transitions, and a lot of people have a hard time networking and a hard time communicating and stuff like that. And a lot of it is kind of being anxious and being nervous, but doing so confidently enough where people believe in you.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy because I even have a friend, Jenna Rose, who we were at LTU together. She's the Blackhawks in arena host now.
It's insane.
So
Rose is
yeah,
great.
she's awesome. Love her. And I mean, it's crazy because I know I am very extroverted. Like when you put me in a situation, I'm outgoing, I'm having a blast, but like she's really good at too. Like she told me she'll really just she sees someone that inspires her in the business and she'll just shoot them an email and say, "Hey, pretty much you inspire me. Would you mind meeting up for coffee sometime so we can talk? I can pick at your brain and learn some things from you." Where that sometimes I'm like, "Oh my gosh, Jenna,
Crazy.
how did you just like message this person and like literally go meet up with them?" And she's just like, "You just do it. You just do it. And then once you're there, everything's fine." So I mean, I even get anxiety too. I know what it is. And some people look at me as one of the most outgoing people ever, and it just comes naturally. But certain things, like, it's not always natural.
Oh, not at all.
Right.
Sometimes it's okay to put on a mask. Like
Yeah.
in certain instances, you have to, especially to elevate and look up. Sometimes you just gotta take risks. You gotta take a leap. I
Yep.
love that. I love that. That whole segment right there. You're talking. That was great stuff. So to close out the interview, because this has been amazing. You've been killing it. To close out the interview, essentially, is there any advice you like to offer to any young aspiring journalists and broadcasters out there, or even athletes that may resonate with your story or resonate with what you're doing? Is there any advice you would like to leave them with?
I think just say yes to everything. And I mean, that means for me right now, I'm in a position where basketball is my sport. That's what I've played. That's what I know. That's my culture. That's where I feel most comfortable. But now, next thing you know, I'm gonna be color analyst for soccer. I've done gymnastics play by play. And like just all these different sports, I'm not comfortable with them at all. I haven't played these sports my whole life like I have basketball, and I just say yes to it every single time. Even if I'm telling you what, I'm not exaggerating for gymnastics. Ooh, before I did the state finals for that, I had anxiety so bad. I felt sick for a good week
Mm.
before this weekend. And after I did it, I just couldn't believe. Like, I'm looking at myself like, "You freaking baby," because I had a blast doing it.
Yeah.
Everything went wonderfully. I'm feeling so good after it just got over that I'm like, "I cannot believe I was freaking out over this thing that I just literally had so much fun doing and even got paid to do." So I think a lot of people shut themselves out and are scared to do things they know they don't think that they're good enough. But you just have to put in that preparation, and then when you come in there, know that you've prepared the best that you can, and you're gonna kill it, and then you do. But I think before even yes becomes an option, before even getting opportunities like that, I mean, there's times where I'll set aside an hour of my day and I'll go on Instagram and message everyone in the business from freaking LeBron James, Skip Bayless to people that I might have a little bit more of a shot at
Mhm.
getting in touch with, more local reporters or players, and just asking them to check out your work, meet up like my friend Jenna did. That's even going a step further, meeting up with people and sending your work out, always updating your reel. So if someone does finally respond to one of your 86 messages that you sent out. I mean, it's a numbers game. It's literally like door to door marketing. You got to send out 300 messages to 300 different people and hope for
3.
maybe 5 or 6 to message back.
Yeah.
And if they do, then you have to have that updated reel ready to go to send to them. Just being prepared at all times and actually making a real conscious effort to put yourself out there.
That's amazing advice, man. For anyone out there, when you guys do see this, listen, preparation, being confident, everything Alexis just hit is it's life changing. It's life changing. So I really want to thank you. Thank you for that advice. Thank you for your time. I understand you. I know you're busy, and I really wish you the best going forward. I'm John Arwood here, and I'm closing out with She Got Game. Thank you guys.